Hi. So today, my mom had sent me a little bit of a package in the mail, and in it, she sent just a card and everything, photos. So I had these photos in the mail, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna do a post today because um, it's hard to see these, but so I grew up with my grandparents. Well, my parents, but my grandparents were a huge part of my life. And actually, I'm having some tea right now. And my dad's parents, they were the ones that sort of started the tradition of tea in my family. So my family doesn't have a lot of traditions, but this one, I would go to my grandparents' house, and my mom was really against. My mom's like a nutritionist, basically. She was like into healthy foods and stuff, and so we weren't allowed to have sugar or sugar cereals or anything like that. So when I would go to my grandparents' house, they let us have tea, and I would fill it with like they had one of those like glass sugar holders that you'd find at like the diners, which actually my grandmother probably took from the diner. And I would put like teaspoon after teaspoon of sugar in there and milk and fill it up. And I would sit and that at the table with them, and that's like we would talk. And so tea is very kind of like symbolic to me, and it's my introduction to tea, but it's also my introduction to, I guess you'd say, the world, or my grandparents anyway. And my grandmother is my dad's mother. So I told you my genetics came back clean for cancer, and they did. And there really isn't a family history. However, that grandmother did have breast cancer, but she was 60, and when she was diagnosed, and she's my dad's mom, so they don't really consider that really genetically related to what I have, which is breast cancer. But they don't, and no, they don't really know too much. They don't know. I don't have a lot of information on it for my grandmother, other than I know I was really young when she was diagnosed, and I remember she had a mastectomy on her breast. Yeah, because that's what they did back then, and like automatically just like cut it off. And I remember she took me back to school shopping. This is after, and she had one of those bras that you put a pad in, and it's a fake breast. And I'm her only granddaughter, so we were very close. And she bent over to get something. We were at Sears because that's where she took, it was like Sears or J.C. Penney's. And we went. We were at Sears, and she bent over. Maybe it was anyway. She bent over, and her the padding fell out onto the ground. And I remember, like, it was funny, but you feel in that moment so sad for that person because I loved her. I adore my grandmothers, both sides, but I adored my grandmother, my dad's mom. She was just funny, and I was really close with her. Anyway, she literally, I just remember looking at her, and she bent over and she goes, "Oops, look at that." She picked it up and put it right back in her bra. And to me, that's like courage. That's courageous, because it's so traumatic to have something like this happen to you. And then have it happen in front of your granddaughter who you adore. She adored me. And I really miss her. Like, I really wanted to be able to talk to her about this. But she passed away my first week of chemotherapy. She knew a little bit about what was going on, but at that point she was out of it somewhat, so she really didn't I couldn't get any information from her. Anyway, she passed away, and when she passed away, my doctors didn't, I'm not, when you're going through chemotherapy and stuff, you're not allowed to, I wasn't allowed to fly. And they advise against it. And honestly, I wouldn't have really been able, that first week was really tough. So it happened on Wednesday. She died on Thursday. I was okay by Saturday, but it was a hard first week. Anyway, so in the mail, this is my grandmother. I have a photo of her and my grandfather at my cousin's wedding. And they were just very special to me, very funny, and they loved me so much, and I loved them. So today my mom had sent me, and my grandfather was a veteran from World War II, and he was at Pearl Harbor. He was a Pearl Harbor survivor. He died in 2008. Yeah, May of 2008. And anyway. So he was cremated, and my grandmother, when she passed away this past March 3rd, she was cremated too, and so they had a funeral, which like I said, I couldn't go to, and then they had a burial for my grandparents in a cemetery, a military cemetery. Let's see. It's the Orange County Veterans Memorial. And I don't know if you can see that, but I couldn't go to this either because I missed the burial, and then I missed I missed the service, and then I missed the burial of their ashes in the cemetery. And but my mom just sent me these photos, and I got them today. Here they are, folding up the flag. And there are my grandparents. There's my grandma, and there's my grandfather. And so now they're back together, buried here's their ashes were buried together, side by side. It says, Mildred H. Keller, December 9th, she was born, 1927. And she died March 3rd, 2016. I think the prettiest thing about veteran funerals is the taps that they play. That I really would have liked to have heard. I was going through radiation, so I couldn't go to that because you have to do radiation Monday through Friday, and you can't miss a day. So, and my immune system is still kind of, you don't want to fly. They don't want you, really don't. They advise against flying, obviously, when you're going through treatment. So I'm having green tea in honor of them and in honor of the photos that I got today, my grandparents' burial. I also, it was also my brother's baby shower that weekend. I missed that as well. That was a positive thing, you know. But it really hit me seeing these photos that all my grandparents are gone now. My grandfather, my mom's side, passed away the day before I was diagnosed. And then my grandmother on my dad's side, my dad's mom passed away, like I said, March 3rd, the first week of chemotherapy. But I had gone to see both of them previous. That June I had seen my grandmother and my grandfather. And so at least I was able to get to see them. I had planned on seeing them again. I was looking, it made me bring out my old photos. Here I am. I don't know if you can see this, but that's me with my grandparents. My mom and my grandmother are cooking. Just, and there they are with their tree. I don't know if you can see that, but it's, if you haven't, you know, people that are patients that have been diagnosed with cancer, I remember looking at the oncologist and literally, I mean, I'm too young to have to ask this question, but I had to. I looked at him and I said, am I gonna die from this? And he looked at me in the eyes and shook his head. No, no, he shook his head no. But we all are gonna die someday, right? It's just that, like, when you're younger, you're just living your life and you don't think about it. It's like, oh, I gotta do this, I have to do that, I have so much to do. And for those of you who have been diagnosed with cancer or some, you know, a disease like this, it makes you stop and think and be like, wait a second, I could die from this. This could kill me. I mean, yes, we could all go out and get hit by a bus tomorrow, you know, the saying goes, but this was like, oh, there goes my reminder to take my tamoxifen. Oh no, this is a different pill, Effexor. I never thought, like, all my grandparents lived to be like really old. I mean, my grandmother was 89, my grandfather was 86, my other grandmother was 90 and 89. So I just always assumed I would live that long. Like, I never was like, and there was no real history of bad diseases in my family. And, you know, I just never in a million years saw this coming at all. And when something like this happens, you literally have to face it. And you start to ask questions, you know? Like they're constantly asking you to fill out one of those forms that tells like what you want to happen, like if you die during surgery and if you die from the treatments and all this stuff. And I'm like, I'm too young to fill this out. I don't need to do this yet. But I'm like, well, wait a second. Yeah, I kind of should, because I've been diagnosed with a disease that could kill me. And it won't, because I won't let it. But it's going to take a lot more than cancer to take me down. That's something my grandmother would say. But I mean, I don't know. My body made that cell, and we don't know. I mean, I look at the facts and everything the doctors have said and all the blood work and the studies, and that's what you go on. And you hold on to it as tight as you can, because that's science, which is real. Those are facts. And you hope that those facts apply to you. I just would love to have a cup of tea with my grandparents tonight.